And then getting into your polishing, how do you know when to polish? So you're gonna want to polish before you wax.
Right.
Usually, most cases, if a bow is maintained on a regular basis and it's in pristine condition, and I mean you have that nice glossy finish where there's no haze or any form of oxidation on the surface.
This clip is brought to you by PartsView.com. Save money on all your boat or engine parts when you use the link and discount codes in the description below.
You're safe to do your wash, and then make sure that the surface doesn't have any contaminants, and do a recoat of a wax or sealant.
Right.
Getting into your polish, if you have any type of oxidation, when you touch the boat or vessel and you're getting haze on your hand, you're beyond light oxidation. You're probably medium. I mean, very light oxidation. For the most of the case, I've heard of clients will call me, say, I've used a cleaner wax on it and it took care of it. But personally, just go through the boat and do a really good polish, because what's going to happen is you're going to remove that gel coat that is pretty much no longer it's like that surface that's getting hazy, and you need to bring that luster of a shine back and seal it.
Yeah, it's the gel coat's basically like dying almost. You're kind of like washing
Correct.
off,
Yeah. So if you're in a salt environment, the gel coat is going to be exposed to element salt. You're dealing with, if the boat's sitting on a lift exposed to the salt air, then you have the UV. So between the combination of just those two, then you start to get dirt and, birds and, all this contaminant on the surface. So most people think that if they wax your boat, one time for the year is sufficient. That is not the case. You need to wax your boat. Right now it's usually between 90 and 100 degrees. The wax just melts off the surface.
Oh,
so
yeah.
When you wax a boat, usually if it was in the 70s, you could probably go, maybe 4 months, depending on if the boat's covered. If the boat's covered, you can go longer. If the boat's indoor, you can go longer. But if it's outside, you'll be lucky to get 3 months, maybe 4 months, because the surface is baking hot all day. Imagine 95 degrees every single day, 365 days of the year. Yep. That thing is cooking. You can scramble eggs on it, brother. So I tell owners, listen, wax your boat in 4 to 6 months. If it looks good, let's go ahead and plan on waxing it, because you're going to add more protection. Now, once the wax breaks down, right, this is crucial right now. When the wax breaks down, the boat will still have a shine. The wax is a protection. So what it does is it protects the gel coat from deteriorating. Now, when the deterioration takes place is when there's no longer any form of protection. That's when you start to get oxidation. Oxidation is first very light to where you don't notice it. And when you wash the boat, you can almost just wash that really light oxidation off to when you touch the surface. It doesn't appear to be chalky or oxidized. Now, you do a surface test, you can touch the surface and you can feel that there's no protection on there, and a boat will still have a shine. Months goes by, the oxidation goes from light to medium. Right. Now we have a problem, because the problem is you're going to require a form of compounding. You've passed polishing stage. Now you're into cutting. You have to cut to remove the oxidation. Then you have to follow it up with a polish, because unless you're doing a polish that doesn't leave swirl marks or holograms, which is a one step, which they have that. There's different types of there's different processes and steps to doing a detail. I'm just going to cover very simple bases. You're going to get into your compounding. Now, when you get into your compounding, if you're a professional, you'll know what steps to take to make your job easier but provide the best result for the customer. Right. And you'll have to just assess the boat based on the condition it's in and go from there.
Gotcha. I didn't think about the wax like melting, because that's probably why there's so many people. Like, let's say you live up north, anywhere above Florida, your boating season is a lot smaller, and your days on the water you got mainly 70, 80 degrees, and then you got maybe through September, you got 90s. So, like, you wax your boat in May, it's good for the rest of the year, because in October, you put the boat away. You cover it, you put it away, and now there's no sun. The temperature's 40 degrees or below, and it's there's nothing tearing the wax down. Whereas you get to South Florida, boom, now you're sitting in the sun 90 degrees, 365 days out of the year, and it's melting the wax basically off the boat. That's a really good way to put that. I like that.
Thank you.
Didn't even think about that, and that's something that a lot of people don't think about either.
They wouldn't know. I mean, I've been in the industry going on about 16 years. I've been in business going on 8 years, and I've learned a lot over the years. And what I've learned is there's detailing companies out there that just start out and they don't educate the customers. We're here to provide a service, and the more the client knows, they're going to value our service. The industry is changing by the day, and what's happening is everyone wants the cheapest job instead of the best job. So the issue I'm faced with is we'll have clients that call and they've had the boat detail, and what happens, the boat had oxidation, and instead of them doing a compound and a polish and then a wax, they'll wax right over all that oxidation, and the wax breaks down and the boat's completely chalked out because they didn't deal with the problem, they just covered it up.
Right. That's too funny. Oh yeah, I'd come out there and wipe wax all over your boat,
I'll wax it for you.
Charge you a couple grand, and then they roll out, and they're out of business.
And the craziest thing about it is when they wax the boat, they'll put so many layers of wax on it to cover the oxidation that as the boat owner, you would never know. You'll say, oh, my boat looks beautiful. But 3-4 months goes by, and then that sun just bakes that wax off, and you don't wax the boat for a year. You're now chalked out to the point you're getting
twice as bad.
You're getting into wet sanding. Wet sanding is you don't want to talk about that right now.
That's too funny. So, all right, that was Nautic Man. So, TZW says, what's the safest and most effective way to remove stains from vinyl cushions?
Stains from vinyl cushion. Well, they have upholstery cleaner, and the first thing you want to do is obviously try the upholstery cleaner. Right. And use soap and water. Magic eraser. Do not be aggressive with it. Depending on the type of stain, most of the stains are, if you're talking about tanning oil and stuff like, and sunblock, most of the time, if you keep your upholstery conditioned on your boat and vessel, whatever contaminants get on your upholstery, it's easier to clean it. The problem is once you have no protection on there, everything that gets on there will seep into the vinyl, and it will make it almost impossible to make it like new. So the biggest form of cleaning is going to be preventive maintenance. So stay on top of it, so when you have an issue, that it's easier to clean it. And if you run across the situation, depending on what you're dealing with, if you're dealing with mold, we'll do a mold and mildew. Mold and mildew is a common thing because of the humidity. We have boats down here in the Florida Keys that are covered, or they may be stored indoors. And even though the boat may be clean, there's still times where the cushion will get mold and mildew, and we'll do a mold and mildew treatment. Then we'll clean it really well, and then do a protectant, 303 protectant. That way, condition the cushion very well that way. If is faced with any challenges in the future, you get blood or you get any sunblock on it, it's easier to clean. Yeah, because once the stains, if you don't have any protection at all, once that stain gets in the upholstery, it's almost like there's no. Yeah. So if you're talking about vinyl is easier to work with. If you're talking, depending on the type of material you're working with, most of the boats and vessels we deal with, always have vinyl. Every boat has vinyl. It's just depending on. At what point does it need to be changed or replaced? Because sometimes there's situations where you're trying to clean something that you can't clean. Like if the dye's gone, the vinyl. If you start to see little specks, you start to see areas where it's discoloration, because what happens is you scrubbed it. The worst thing you can do on a cushion is start to scrub it with a brush or scrub it with something abrasive to remove the stain. Do not do that, because you're going to damage it and going to have to replace it. Because you're basically scrubbing the dye out of the vinyl. Yes. So the color of the cushion, it's white. Let's go with white, because that's what everybody's got. White cushions. and like you said, with the full covers, if that full cover ain't vented, then all the moisture is coming up in there in the boat, and now all of a sudden you've created a greenhouse, basically. Yes. So you're going to get the mold on the cushions, and you're scrubbing the color out of the cushion, out of the white. So
and there's no way to get it back
There's no way to get back unless you replace it.
Unless you replace it, or I've seen. I haven't tried it yet.
You can respray it, or they have that. I personally, I mean, you can do it if you're professional. I mean, that's not something I would sample because if you might spray that cushion, but it's not going to match the rest of the boat.
Yeah. So, you might as well do all your cushions.
You might as well do all the cushions because that one's going to stand out. Yes.
Yeah, I didn't even think. I've never tried that stuff. I've seen people talking about like the SEM or SEM upholstery paint or whatever it is, and I've never tried. Have you ever done that?
I've never done it. There's been someone I've met, I've seen a work personally is preparation. You have to tape everything off. You have to take it off. I mean, honestly, the best thing you could do is just do the preventive maintenance. Yeah. Because if you do the preventive maintenance, you won't have to figure out how to fix it.
Yeah, but no one does that.
So hire,
that's why we're talking here,
hire a detailing company. Yeah. Call. So so you do run across that, and and you feel that you want to try that method if you have an area on the cushion that the dye might have,
you scrubbed it out,
and you want to try that as an option, you can. But you might have to do all the upholstery on the boat.
That's why everybody says not to use the bleach, because the bleach will it takes it
not good.
It takes the color out. See, I never thought about that. The vinyl has a dye in it that gives you your color, and that color is white, or whatever color.
Whatever the case may be, yes.
Yeah, that's funny. Awesome. Lockhart Matthew says the best way to get stains out of the deck.
Okay, C-deck. So C-deck.
No, I don't think this is C-deck. This is just straight up like the deck.
Oh, the deck on the boat?
Yeah.
All right. So if you have a boat and you have, you say your dime pattern, gel coat on the floor or non-skid, whatever the case may be, you first have to identify what type of contaminant or dirt you're dealing with. Grease, you're obviously going to be a degreaser. You're dealing with dirt, you're going to get your cleaners, depending on what you're using. They have various. I mean, you just think about it. Anything from Simple Green to your boat soaps to your decontamination soap. So cleaning, you have to find out what
you're trying to clean.
What you're trying to clean first, and then you have to pick the chemical that's going to work best. Not just anything. The last thing you want to do is start spraying rust remover and acid. Yes, let's not do that. Identify what it is you need to clean, and then you'll pick a chemical that's going to work best for your job.
Right.
And what I found out, that works best is, especially on the floor, it's a high traffic area, and that dirt will get embedded. And sometimes what happens is, even if you use a hard brush, a deck brush, it's not going to be aggressive enough to remove the dirt. So you might have to take a pressure washer to it, and it's going to make your life easier to get that dirt and grime that may be built up layered upon layered. And even though you might clean it, just from time in the sun really baking it in, it makes it really hard to remove everything. You're going to have to use that elbow grease, but a pressure washer is going to be sometimes your best option to help you out there.
What pressure do you like on a pressure washer?
Honestly, I use a 1900 PSI. And you're in a safe zone on that. The reason why I say that, if you get into the more, 3,000, 3,500, 4,000, sometimes you do more damage than good. On gel coat, it's forgiving. You're not going to harm anything, but you just don't need that much power.
Right.
2,000 PSI, is more than sufficient. You can go a little bit higher, 3,000, depending on what you're doing, but you get to stay away from anything you could, damage. But on a boat, say if you say 2,000 PSI, should be able to give you enough power to get the boat clean.
Yeah, because you see it on older boats. People will get up on there with a pressure washer and say...
Depends on what you're doing, yes.
You got an older one that's good, where the gel coat's already breaking down, and they start blasting the gel coat off. You start... Any void in the gel coat, you can expose those.
Yeah, so on the exterior, on a gel coat surface, the pressure washer will not harm the boat. But if you're doing just general cleaning to remove dirt, grime, dust, whatever the case may be, sometimes fish guts... Yep. Instead of, the chum bag hanging on the side of the boat, instead of getting there and start scrubbing with a rag, pressure wash it. It'll take it right off. And you won't have to sit there. I mean, if you're using a magic eraser is abrasive. And you might think that you're cleaning off the surface with that magic eraser, but you're actually creating scratches, because a magic eraser is very fine sandpaper. So
Oh, yeah.
what you're
Yep.
doing when you're scratching the surface of your boat. You know,
You're sanding.
You're sanding. You rub that area to remove the stain, and then it's gonna be scratched up. So
Yep.
pressure washer might be the best option for the deck. And then if you have any other challenges on the boat, that might help you out.
So Splitting Fishing says, what is the best and easiest way to clean and condition aluminum T-tops?
Aluminum T-tops. If to clean and condition, Woody Wax makes a great product. I've been in the industry for many years, and I've tried many products. I mean, I've tried lots of products, but this one in particular I really stood out is the Woody Wax. It's in a blue can, and then it comes with a steel wool fine and the aluminum. Okay, so down in the Florida Keys, we're in a salt environment. We're constantly fighting with the elements. So salt will actually cause the T-top to oxidize. It gets that white haze, and then it'll start to get pitting.
Yep.
So sometimes there's cases where we do condition the T-top with a metal protection of your choice. So I'll use like Colonite. They have the insulator wax that works really great on the metal. But if you come across a situation where you need to do a cleaning because there's a haze on your aluminum, Woody Wax, and then they have the steel wool, and then they have a special product you can use with it, or you can use the Woody Wax and steel wool, and you can clean the oxidation with that white haze off the aluminum, and it's going to also leave a nice protection. So that white haze and the oxidation buildup is just from the aluminum starting to oxidize.
Right.
So it starts getting oxidized and it starts getting pitted. So you can for most cases clean it and protect it, and that's been the best way I've learned how to do that.
Yeah, I use not really the steel wool because one time a long time ago, I had this Mako, same thing, the T-top. I was like, I'm going to clean this T-top. I got up there, I did a whole thing in steel wool, and then it like rained right after I did it. All them little things, all the steel wool all over the boat, little rust spots all over the boat. And I was like,
the trick with that is, I'm going to tell you what the trick. You have to get a rag. You put the steel wool inside the rag.
Oh.
And then what you do is you put it in the palm of your hand, and in the area that you're working, you only want the steel wool to make contact with that area, and you have an overlap with a rag as a barrier, so whenever you're working, that area doesn't dry. So you can always do other methods too if you don't feel comfortable. You can always put some plastic down. I mean, if you get to the point where you're doing a restoration on the aluminum, it's going to be messy. It's just a matter of how you're going to be efficient with your tools and the environment that you're in to just try to find out the best result, and that's what's worked the best for me.
What about doing a what are the other pads that they have? Like there's a like a copper.
Yeah, but they have different types of pads to clean aluminum. But for the most case, if you're doing a protection and you don't require the wool, you can do insulator wax. Works great.
Yep.
By Colonite, you put it on, let it haze over, and you take it off, and it leaves a really good protection on there to where it will repel. It will cause the salt and the contaminants not to be able to do harm and damage.
Yeah, I like Colonite. Colonite's they got really good stuff. Now, if you enjoyed this clip, you can watch the full episode over here, or you can watch another one over here.